My sister was my world until she chose him, a man I saw through from the start. His charm hit a cruel streak, and when he tore us apart at her wedding, I swore I'd never forgive her. Years later, she showed up at my door, broken, begging for help. I let her in, heart heavy with hope. But some betrayals cut too deep to mend. This is the story of how I fought for my sister, only to lose her all over again. I still remember the summer breeze that carried Lila's laughter across our backyard. We were thick as thieves, my little sister and I, sprawled on a picnic blanket in our small Virginia town, dreaming up futures that always included each other. I'm Elise, the older one by 3 years, always the planner, the protector. Lila was the spark, wild, bright, and impossible to pin down. We'd braid each other's hair, swap secrets, and promise nothing would ever come between us. Back then, I believed it. That was before him. Before Caleb waltzed into her life with his slick car and slicker smile, turning everything upside down. I met him at a diner in Roanoke, where Lila dragged me to show off her new boyfriend. He was all polished charm, expensive watch glinting, teeth too perfect, like he'd stepped out of a magazine ad. But his eyes? Cold, calculating. They lingered on me a beat too long, sizing me up like I was competition, not family. "Lila, he's intense," I said later that night, curled up on her couch. My voice was soft, careful, like I was stepping around broken glass. "Don't you think he's moving a bit fast?" She bristled, her hazel eyes narrowing. "You're just jealous, Elise. You don't have a guy like Caleb. Successful, driven, hot. Not everyone's stuck planning their life to death like you." Her words stung, sharp and unexpected. Jealous? I wasn't jealous. I was worried. I'd seen guys like Caleb before. Men who wore confidence like a mask, who made you feel special until they didn't. But Lila was smitten, blind to the red flags I couldn't ignore. I tried again, gentler. "I just want you to be sure, Lila. You're young. There's time." "Time for what? To end up alone like you?" She snapped, then froze, her face softening with regret. "I didn't mean that, Elise." But she did. I felt it, the first crack in our bond. I swallowed the hurt, forced a smile. "It's fine. Just be careful, okay?" Days turned to weeks, then months. Caleb was everywhere. Dinners, family barbecues, even our Sunday brunches. He'd flash that grin, toss an arm around Lila, and I'd grit my teeth, watching her glow under his attention. When she announced their engagement, my stomach dropped. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to beg her to see what I saw. But she was so happy, and I couldn't bear to dim that light. So I stayed quiet, pasting on smiles while dread coiled in my chest. The wedding was a blur of tulle and roses at a vineyard outside Charlottesville. I spent weeks crafting my gift, a handmade quilt, each square stitched with memories of us. The blue patch from her prom dress, the yellow from our old picnic blanket. Hours of love poured into every stitch. I thought it'd mean something to her. It didn't. "Lila, open mine next," I called, heart pounding as she tore into the wrapping. The crowd cooed as she held up the quilt, her smile bright, until Caleb leaned in, smirking. "Sweet, but a bit. Homemade, huh? Looks like something from a thrift store." His laugh was loud, cutting. The guests tittered, and Lila's cheeks flushed. She didn't defend me, didn't say a word, just folded the quilt and moved on to the next gift, a gleaming crystal vase from his aunt. Humiliation burned through me, hot and raw. I wanted to storm out, to demand she see how he'd belittled me. But I stayed, smile frozen, because that's what I did. Kept the peace. Held the line. Lila was my sister. I'd endure anything for her, until she made it impossible. The vineyard's string lights blurred through my tears as I slipped away from the wedding reception. I found a quiet corner near the grapevines, the quilt clutched to my chest like a shield. Caleb's words echoed, thrift store, homemade, like my love for Lila was some cheap, discardable thing. Worse, her silence. My little sister, who once cried when I scraped my knee, hadn't even looked at me after his jab. I wanted to march back in, demand she see him for what he was. But I didn't. I never did. I'm Elise, the one who fixes things, who smooths over the rough edges. Growing up in our small Virginia home, I'd always been the one to calm Mom's worries or Dad's tempers. Lila was the dreamer, the one who'd climb trees and fall, knowing I'd catch her. Now she was falling for Caleb, and I couldn't reach her. My goal was clear, though. Protect her, even if she hated me for it. I'd find a way to show her who he really was before she was too far gone. The next morning, I woke with a plan. I'd talk to her, just us, no Caleb. I drove to their new condo in Richmond, a sleek place that screamed his money, not her heart. Lila opened the door, still in her honeymoon glow, but her smile faltered when she saw me. Elise, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, I lied, stepping inside. The place smelled of new paint and his cologne. I just wanted to talk about the wedding, about the quilt. Her face tightened. It was sweet, Elise. Really, but Caleb's just blunt. He didn't mean it, didn't he? I pressed, my voice soft but firm. Lila, he humiliated me in front of everyone, and you didn't say a word. She crossed her arms, eyes flashing. You're making this about you. It was my day. Why can't you just be happy for me? I wanted to shake her, to scream that I was happy for her, until Caleb. Instead, I took a breath. I am, but I'm worried. He's not who you think he is. You don't know him. Her voice rose, sharp. You're always so perfect, Elise. Always judging. Maybe you're the one who's not who I thought. The words cut deeper than Caleb's smirk. I left, my heart a bruise, but I wasn't giving up. I'd watch, wait, gather proof. Caleb wasn't perfect, and I'd find the crack in his facade. Days later, at a family barbecue, I got my first chance. Mom had invited everyone to our old backyard, the one where Lila and I used to chase fireflies. Caleb was there, charming as ever, but I noticed something. A quick, sharp glance he shot at a cousin who spilled beer on his shoes. It was gone in a second, but it was there. Contempt. I filed it away. A tiny piece of the puzzle. I pulled Lila aside by the picnic table, away from the crowd. Lila, I'm not trying to ruin anything, but I see how he talks to people. He's not kind. She laughed, bitter. You're obsessed. Caleb's successful, Elise. He doesn't have time for your little grudges. Grudges? I stepped closer, voice low. He mocked me at your wedding, in front of everyone, and you let him. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. You're so dramatic. Maybe if you weren't so clingy, I'd have room to breathe. Clingy. The word hit like a slap. I stepped back, stunned, as she turned and walked away, her arm looping through Caleb's. He glanced back at me, his smile ablade. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just about Lila. Caleb was driving this wedge, and he was enjoying it. I drove home, hands shaking on the wheel. I wanted to protect her, to save her from him, but every step I took seemed to push her further away. Was I wrong? Was I seeing things that weren't there? No. I knew what I saw in his eyes. I'd keep watching, keep pushing, even if it cost me everything. Then, a glimmer of hope. At work, I overheard a colleague mention Caleb's name. A business deal gone sour. Whispers of shady tactics. It wasn't much, but it was something. A lead. I could dig into his past, find proof he wasn't the golden boy Lila thought. My heart lifted. Maybe I could save her yet. The hum of my laptop fan was my only company that night, the screen glowing with search results about Caleb. I'm Elise, the sister who couldn't let go, not when Lila was slipping away into the arms of a man I didn't trust. My mission to protect her felt like chasing smoke, but that whisper at work about Caleb's shady business deal lit a fire in me. If I could find proof he wasn't the prince she believed, maybe I could pull her back. Maybe I could save us. I started small, digging through public records, business articles, anything tied to Caleb's name. He was a real estate developer, all glossy headshots and big promises, but the deeper I looked, the murkier it got. A failed project here, a lawsuit there, nothing damning, but enough to make my gut twist. I jotted down a name from one article, Mark Delaney, a former partner who'd sued Caleb over unpaid dues, a lead worth chasing. I tracked Mark down to a bar in Charlottesville, a dive with sticky floors and dim lights. He was a burly guy, mid-50s, nursing a coffee instead of a beer. "You're asking about Caleb?" he said, eyeing me over his mug. "Guy's a shark. Charmed me into a deal, then cut me out when it paid off. Left me with nothing." My heart raced. "Do you have proof?" Mark shrugged. "Some emails. But he's got lawyers. Guys like him always do." He promised to send what he had, and I left feeling lighter. This was it. Something real I could show Lila. Back home, I waited for those emails. My hope fragile but alive. I didn't tell Lila yet. She'd call me paranoid, shut me out again. Instead, I tried a different tack. Rebuild our bond. Remind her who we were before Caleb. I invited her to lunch at our old favorite cafe in Roanoke. The one with the mismatched plates and peach tea we'd sip as teens. She showed up late, her bright hair messy, her smile forced. "What's this about, Elise? Another lecture?" "No lecture," I said, sliding her a tea. "Just missed you. Remember when we'd come here and plan our big adventures?" Her eyes softened, just for a moment. "Yeah, feels like forever ago." "It doesn't have to be," I said, leaning in. "We're still us, Lila, no matter what." She looked away, fiddling with her napkin. "Things change, Elise. I'm married now. Caleb's my future." The words stung, but I kept my voice steady. "I get it. I just want us to be okay. You're my sister." She nodded, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. We ate, talked about nothing, and for a moment, it felt like old times. Until Caleb texted her, and she bolted, mumbling about some errand. I watched her go, my chest tight. I was losing her, inch by inch. Then Mark's emails came. I opened them, heart pounding, expecting a smoking gun. Instead, they were vague. Contracts, yes, but nothing concrete enough to prove Caleb's deceit. Worse, there was a note from Mark. "Caleb's people called. They know you're asking questions. Watch your back." My stomach dropped. Caleb knew I was digging. This wasn't just about Lila anymore. He was watching me too. I sat there, staring at the screen, fear creeping in. Had I pushed too far? Would Caleb turn Lila against me for good? I wanted to call her, to warn her, but her words from the cafe echoed. "Caleb's my future." She wouldn't listen. Not yet. But I couldn't stop. I had to protect her, even if it meant facing him head on. That night, I lay awake, the quilt from the wedding folded at the foot of my bed. It was a reminder of what I'd lost, and what I was fighting for. Lila was still in there, somewhere. I just had to find a way to reach her before Caleb's shadow swallowed her whole. The air felt heavier after Mark's warning. Caleb knew I was digging into his past, and the thought of his cold eyes fixed on me made my skin crawl. I'm Elise, the sister who couldn't stop fighting for Lila, even when the ground kept shifting beneath me. My goal was to protect her, to peel back Caleb's mask before he hurt her. But every step I took seemed to pull us further apart, and now, with him watching, I felt like I was walking a tightrope over a pit. I didn't tell Lila about the emails or Mark's cryptic note. She'd think I was spiraling, and honestly, I was starting to wonder if I was. But then I'd remember the wedding, her silence as Caleb mocked my quilt, the way she let him cut me down. That wasn't my sister. That was his influence, twisting her into someone I barely recognized. I had to keep going, even if it meant risking his wrath. I decided to play it safe, stick to small moves. I called Lila, keeping my voice light, and invited her to a family dinner at Mom and Dad's place in our Virginia hometown. Just us, like old times, I said, hoping the familiarity would soften her. She hesitated, then agreed, but only if Caleb could come. My heart sank, but I said yes. If he was there, maybe I'd catch another glimpse of his true colors. The dinner was tense from the start. Mom's dining room, with its faded floral wallpaper, felt too small for the weight of unspoken words. Dad grilled steaks, Mom fussed over the salad, and Lila sat close to Caleb, her hand on his arm like an anchor. I tried to catch her eye, to share one of our old inside jokes, but she was locked on him, laughing too loud at his stories. Then, it happened, a slip. Dad asked Caleb about his latest project, some condo development in Richmond. Caleb's smile tightened, just for a second, before he launched into a polished pitch. But I saw it. Unease. I steered the conversation, casual as I could. Heard you had some trouble with a partner a while back. Mark something? Caleb's fork paused midair. Old news, he said, voice smooth but sharp. Business is messy sometimes. Lila shot me a look, her eyes narrowing. Why bring that up, Elise? Just curious, I said, smiling to diffuse the tension. But the air had changed. Caleb's charm dialed up, deflecting with jokes, but I felt his gaze linger on me. A warning. I'd poked the bear, and he wasn't happy. After dinner, I pulled Lila into the kitchen under the guise of helping with dishes. Lila, I'm not trying to fight, I whispered. But don't you ever wonder about him? Little things that don't add up? She slammed a plate into the sink, water splashing. You're doing it again! Why can't you let me be happy? You're so obsessed with being right, you're ruining everything. Her words hit like a punch. I'm trying to save you, I said, voice cracking. He's not good for you. Save me? She laughed, bitter. You're the one who needs saving, Elise. Living in the past, clinging to us like we're still kids. Grow up. She stormed out, leaving me with the suds and my regrets. I wanted to run after her, but Caleb was waiting, his arm around her as they left. His smirk said it all. He'd won this round. The next day, a coworker, Sarah, mentioned she'd seen Caleb at a bar with a woman who wasn't Lila. Looked cozy, she said, shrugging. Could be nothing? My pulse quickened. Was this proof of his true nature, or just a misunderstanding? I couldn't tell yet, but it was a thread to pull, one that might unravel everything, or nothing at all. I sat in my apartment, staring at the quilt on my couch. Its stitches, a map of what Lila and I used to be. I was losing her, and now Caleb was circling, ready to strike if I pushed too hard. But that rumor about the bar? It was a spark. I'd follow it, carefully, because if I was right, it could change everything. The rumor about Caleb at the bar clung to me, like damp air after a Virginia storm. I'm Elise, the sister who couldn't let go, who kept chasing the truth about Caleb to save Lila, even as she pushed me away. My goal was to protect her, to show her the man she married wasn't the hero she thought. But every move I made seemed to widen the chasm between us. And now, with Caleb aware of my digging, I felt his shadow looming larger. Sarah's words, cozy with another woman, echoed in my mind. It could be nothing, a misread glance in a crowded bar. Or it could be everything, the crack in Caleb's facade I'd been searching for. I couldn't confront Lila yet. She'd shut me down, call me paranoid. Instead, I decided to follow the lead myself, quietly. If I could confirm it, catch him in a lie, maybe she'd finally listen. I started at the bar Sarah mentioned, a trendy spot in downtown Richmond with exposed brick and overpriced cocktails. I went on a Friday night, blending into the crowd, my heart pounding like I was some amateur detective. I didn't expect to see Caleb there, but I asked the bartender, a guy with a sleeve of tattoos, if he'd seen a man matching Caleb's description, tall, polished, too charming smile. He shrugged. Sounds like half the guys here. Check back tomorrow. I left, frustrated but not defeated. The next day, I called Sarah, fishing for details. You sure it was Caleb? I asked, trying to sound casual. Pretty sure, she said. Dark hair, fancy suit, laughing with some brunette. Didn't look like a business meeting, you know? My stomach twisted. I thanked her and hung up, my mind racing. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, but the pieces were piling up. Caleb's sharp glances, his shady business past, now this. I needed more, something solid, before I could face Lila. That weekend, Mom invited us to a family picnic, one of those forced gatherings where everyone pretends everything's fine. Lila showed up with Caleb, her smile bright but brittle. I watched them from across the lawn, his hand on her waist, her laughter too loud. I tried to catch her alone, but he was always there, hovering, his eyes flicking to me like he knew I was plotting. Finally, I cornered her by the dessert table, away from the crowd. Lila, can we talk? Just for a minute? She sighed, rolling her eyes. What now, Elise? Another warning about my husband? I heard something, I said, voice low, about Caleb. At a bar, with another woman. Her face froze, then twisted into a scowl. You're unbelievable. You'll say anything to tear us apart, won't you? It's not like that, I pleaded. I'm trying to protect you. Protect me? Her voice rose, drawing eyes. You're obsessed. You can't stand that I'm happy, that I have someone who loves me. You're pathetic, Elise." The word hit like a stone. Before I could respond, Caleb appeared, his arm sliding around her. "Everything okay, babe?" he asked, his tone dripping with concern, but his eyes locked on me, cold and triumphant. "Fine," Lila snapped, pulling away from me. "Let's go." They left the picnic early, and I stood there, the weight of her words crushing me. Pathetic. Was I? Was I chasing ghosts, ruining what little we had left? That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the bar tomorrow." I know about Caleb. My pulse raced. Was this a trap? Someone connected to Mark's warning? Or a real ally? Someone who could help me prove the truth? I didn't know, but I couldn't ignore it. It was a risk, but one I had to take. I lay awake, the quilt from the wedding draped over my chair, its colors muted in the dark. Lila's anger, Caleb's smirks, the mystery text, they swirled in my head, pulling me deeper into this fight. I was scared, but I was in too deep to stop now. For Lila, for us, I'd see this through, no matter what it cost. The text from that unknown number burned in my mind, a flicker of hope wrapped in fear. "I'm Elise, the sister who couldn't let go, who'd staked everything on saving Lila from Caleb's grip. My goal was to protect her, to prove he was a fraud before she was too far gone. But every step I took pushed her further away. And now, with this mysterious message, meet me at the bar tomorrow." I know about Caleb. I was teetering on the edge of something dangerous. I didn't sleep that night. The quilt from Lila's wedding lay across my couch, a silent reminder of what I was fighting for. Was this text a lead to the truth, or a trap set by Caleb to catch me meddling? I couldn't tell, but I couldn't ignore it either. I had to go, had to know, even if it meant walking into a lion's den. The bar was busier than last time, the Richmond crowd buzzing with laughter and clinking glasses. I wore a plain jacket, hair tucked under a cap, trying to blend in. My heart pounded as I scanned the room, clutching my phone like a lifeline. No one approached. Minutes dragged into an hour, and doubt crept in. Maybe it was a prank, or worse, Caleb testing me. Then a woman slid into the booth across from me, mid-30s, sharp eyes, auburn hair pulled tight. She introduced herself as Jenna, a former colleague of Caleb's. "You're Elise, right?" she said, voice low. "I heard you've been asking questions." I nodded, throat dry. "You sent the text?" "Yeah." She glanced around, nervous. "Caleb's not what he seems. He's charming, sure, but he's got a side he hides. I worked with him on a deal 2 years ago. He screwed over half the team, including me. Took credit, left us with nothing." My pulse quickened. "Do you have proof?" "Some," she said, sliding a USB drive across the table. "Emails, contracts. It's not a smoking gun, but it's a start. Be careful, though. He's got eyes everywhere." I pocketed the drive, my hands trembling. This was it, a real chance to expose him. But Jenna's warning echoed Mark's. Caleb was watching. I thanked her and left, the USB a heavy weight in my pocket. I wanted to call Lila to tell her everything, but her words from the picnic, "pathetic," stopped me. She wasn't ready. Not yet. The next day, I plugged the drive into my laptop, heart racing. The files were a tangle of emails and documents, but one stood out, a contract where Caleb had altered terms to cut out a partner. Jenna's name was there, clear as day. It wasn't enough to destroy him, but it was proof he wasn't the golden boy Lila thought. I saved everything, my hope reigniting. I'd find a way to show her, to break through. Then came the family Christmas party at Mom and Dad's. I dreaded seeing Lila, knowing she'd be glued to Caleb, but I went, hoping for a moment to reconnect. The house smelled of pine and cinnamon, but the warmth felt hollow. Lila barely looked at me, her laughter forced as she played the perfect wife. I tried to catch her alone, but Caleb was always there, his smile a blade. Finally, I found her by the tree, adjusting an ornament. "Lila, can we talk? Just us?" She sighed, her eyes cold. "What, Elise? Another conspiracy?" "I have proof," I whispered. "About Caleb. He's not honest." Her face hardened. "You're delusional." She turned to walk away, but I grabbed her arm. "Lila, please. I'm doing this because I love you." She yanked free, her voice rising. Love? You're tearing us apart. You're jealous, Elise, and it's pathetic. Caleb appeared, his arm around her, and she leaned into him, glaring at me. The room went quiet, eyes on us. I felt small, exposed, like I was the villain in her story. As I drove home, my phone buzzed. A new email from Jenna. Found something else. Call me. My heart leapt. Another piece of the puzzle? Or another dead end? I didn't know, but it was a lifeline, and I was clinging to it with everything I had. The Christmas party left a bruise on my heart that wouldn't fade. Lila's words, jealous, pathetic, looped in my mind, each one a needle. I'm Elise, the sister who kept fighting for her, even when she saw me as the enemy. My goal was to save Lila from Caleb, to show her the truth before he consumed her completely. Jenna's email found something else. Call me was a lifeline, but after Lila's rejection, I felt like I was drowning, grasping at anything to keep going. I called Jenna the next morning, my hands shaky as I dialed. She picked up on the second ring, her voice tense. Elise? I dug deeper. There's a paper trail, offshore accounts tied to Caleb's deals. It's shady, but it's buried. I'm sending you what I have, but you need to be careful. He's not just a jerk. He's dangerous. Dangerous? I asked, my stomach twisting. He's got connections, she said. People who clean up his messes. If he knows you're onto him, he won't just push back. He'll destroy you. I thanked her, my throat tight, and hung up. The new files arrived an hour later. Bank statements, cryptic emails, names I didn't recognize. It was a maze, but it painted a picture. Caleb was moving money in ways that screamed deceit. Not enough to take to Lila yet, but close. I saved everything, my resolve hardening. I'd find the final piece, no matter the risk. I avoided family gatherings after Christmas, needing space to focus. Lila didn't call, didn't text. The silence hurt, but it gave me time to work. I spent nights poring over Jenna's files, cross-referencing names, chasing leads. I was no detective, but I was desperate. The quilt from the wedding sat folded on my chair, a reminder of why I couldn't stop. Lila was still my sister, somewhere beneath Caleb's spell. Then came Mom's birthday dinner, a small affair at their house in our Virginia town. I didn't want to go, but Mom insisted. You and Lila need to fix this, she said over the phone. You're sisters. I swallowed my pride and went, hoping for a truce, even a small one. The dinner was tense, the air thick with things unsaid. Lila sat across from me, her eyes avoiding mine. Caleb's arm draped over her chair like a claim. Mom tried to keep things light, but every laugh felt forced. After dessert, I followed Lila to the porch, where she was sipping wine, staring at the stars. Lila, I started, voice soft. I'm not trying to hurt you. I found things about Caleb, real things. He's not who you think. She turned, her face a mask of fury. You never stop, do you? You're so obsessed with ruining my life you can't see I'm happy. Happy? I stepped closer, my voice breaking. You're not happy, Lila. You're trapped, and you don't even see it. Trapped? She laughed, sharp and cruel. You're the one trapped, Elise. In your sad little world, playing savior. Get out of my life. Her words were a blade, but before I could respond, Caleb stepped outside, his smile cold. Problem here? He asked, his tone daring me to push further. Lila leaned into him, her glare burning through me. I backed away, my chest tight, and left the house, the door slamming behind me. The next day, Jenna called again. I got a name, she said. A lawyer who worked with Caleb's accounts. He's willing to talk. Off the record. Meet him. Tomorrow. My heart soared. A real witness. Someone who could tie the knots in Caleb's lies. This was my chance to finally break through. I sat in my apartment, the quilt's colors catching the morning light. Lila's anger. Caleb's threats. The weight of it all pressed down on me. But Jenna's call was a spark. A promise that I was close. I'd meet this lawyer, get the truth, and save my sister, even if she hated me for it. Lila's words on that porch, get out of my life, cut deeper than I'd ever admit. I'm Elise, the sister who refused to give up, even when it felt like I was fighting a ghost. My goal was to save Lila from Caleb, to show her the truth before he buried her in his lies. Jenna's call about the lawyer was a lifeline, a chance to finally expose him. But as I drove to meet this new contact, my hands trembled on the wheel. Caleb's shadow was growing, and I was starting to feel its weight. The lawyer, Tom Garrett, agreed to meet at a quiet coffee shop in Charlottesville, far from Caleb's Richmond turf. He was older, with graying hair and a cautious gaze, like someone who'd seen too many deals go sour. I sat across from him, clutching a latte I hadn't touched. "You worked with Caleb?" I asked, keeping my voice low. Tom nodded, glancing over his shoulder. Briefly, handled some contracts for his offshore accounts. Shady stuff. Money moving through shell companies. Nothing illegal on paper, but he trailed off, frowning. It didn't sit right. I quit when he pushed me to fudge numbers. My heart raced. "Do you have proof? Something I can use?" He slid a folder across the table. Copies of transactions. Some emails. "It's not a slam dunk, but it shows he's playing dirty. Be careful, Elise. He's got friends in high places." I took the folder, my fingers tingling with possibility. This was it. Real evidence. Enough to make Lila listen. I thanked Tom and left, the folder tucked under my arm like a grenade. I wanted to call Lila, to drive to her condo and lay it all out, but her last words stopped me. She'd called me obsessed, told me to get out. I had to be smart, wait for the right moment. That moment didn't come. Instead, things got worse. A week later, Mom called, her voice tight. "Elise, we need to talk. Family meeting, tomorrow." Lila's upset. My stomach dropped. I knew what this was. Caleb spinning the narrative, painting me as the problem. The meeting was at Mom and Dad's, the same Virginia house where Lila and I used to build forts out of couch cushions. Now it felt like a courtroom. Lila sat next to Caleb, her eyes red but hard. Mom stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. Dad just looked tired. "Elise," Mom started, "Lila says you're harassing her, digging into Caleb's business, spreading lies. This has to stop." "Harassing?" I choked out. "I'm trying to protect her. Caleb's not who he seems." "There's proof," Lila scoffed, her voice venomous. "Proof? You're chasing rumors, Elise. You're so jealous of my life. You're making things up." "Jealous?" I stood, the folder burning in my bag. "Lila, I have documents, bank records, emails. He's hiding things." Caleb leaned forward, his smile cold. "Careful, Elise. Accusations like that can get messy. You don't want to drag your sister into a scandal, do you?" His tone was a warning, smooth but sharp. Mom jumped in, her voice sharp. "Elise, you're acting like a child. You need to let this go and apologize." "Apologize? For trying to save my sister?" I looked at Lila, hoping for a flicker of the girl who'd braid my hair, who'd cry when I cried. But her face was a wall, her loyalty locked on Caleb. "I'm not apologizing," I said, voice shaking. "Not when I know I'm right?" I left, the door slamming behind me, my heart in pieces. I'd lost her, not just to Caleb, but to Mom's judgment, to this twisted version of family. That night, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. A man's voice, low and hurried. "Elise, I know about Caleb's accounts. Meet me at the park by the river. Tomorrow night, come alone." My breath caught. Another ally? Or a setup? I couldn't tell, but it was another piece, another chance to break Caleb's hold. I sat on my couch, the quilt from Lila's wedding draped over my knees. The folder from Tom lay open, its pages a map of Caleb's lies. I was close, so close, but the cost was tearing me apart. Lila was slipping away, and this new meeting could be my last shot, or my biggest mistake. The voicemail played on repeat in my head, a stranger's voice promising answers about Caleb. "I'm Elise, the sister who'd lost everything trying to save Lila from a man whose lies were piling up like storm clouds. My goal was to protect her, to show her the truth before she was too deep in his world to escape. But after Mom's accusation, calling me childish, siding with Lila and Caleb, I felt like I was fighting a war alone. The folder from Tom, with its bank records and emails, was my weapon, but this new meeting by the river could be the key to ending this, or a trap that'd bury me. I barely slept, The quilt from Lila's wedding a heavy weight across my lap. Its stitches held memories of us sisters against the world. Now she was against me, and I was walking into the unknown. The park by the James River was quiet at night, just the rustle of leaves and the water's soft murmur. I stood under a street lamp, clutching my phone, the folder tucked in my bag. The air felt charged, like the moment before lightning. A man approached, tall, wiry, with a baseball cap pulled low. He introduced himself as Derek, a former accountant for one of Caleb's shell companies. "I heard you're digging," he said, voice low. "I've got something you need. Transaction logs. They tie Caleb to money laundering? Small scale, but enough to raise questions." My heart leapt. "Can I see them?" He handed me a flash drive. "It's all there. But listen, Caleb's connected. People who cross him, they don't walk away clean." His eyes darted to the shadows, then back to me. "Don't contact me again?" I nodded, slipping the drive into my pocket. It felt like a grenade, one I could finally use to blow Caleb's facade apart. I drove home, my mind racing. With Tom's folder, and now Derek's logs, I had enough to go to Lila. Not just suspicions, but hard evidence. She'd have to listen. Wouldn't she? The next day, I called her, my voice steady despite the nerves. "Lila, we need to talk. I have something to show you. Please?" She sighed, long and heavy. "Elise, I'm done with your games." "It's not a game," I said. "Meet me at the cafe, the one we used to love. Just you." I'm begging. Maybe it was my tone, or maybe she missed me too, but she agreed. I arrived early, the flash drive and folder in my bag, my heart pounding. When Lila walked in, she looked tired. Her brightness dimmed. She sat, arms crossed. "This better be good, Elise." I slid the folder across the table, then pulled up the logs on my laptop. "Caleb's moving money through fake companies. It's not just shady deals. He's hiding things, Lila, from you." Her eyes flicked to the papers, then back to me, hard. "You're obsessed. This is fake, or you're twisting it. Why can't you let me be happy?" "Happy?" My voice cracked. "You're not happy. I see it in your eyes. He's controlling you, and you're letting him." She stood, chair scraping. "You're wrong, and you're alone because you push everyone away." She stormed out, leaving the folder behind. I sat there, stunned, the cafe's chatter fading to a hum. I'd laid out the truth, and she'd walked away. That night, my phone rang. "Mom." "Elise," she said, voice sharp. "Caleb's threatening to sue you for slander. He says you're spreading lies, harassing Lila. Stop this, or you'll tear this family apart." I froze, the flash drive heavy in my hand. "Sue me?" Caleb was turning the tables, painting me as the villain. Lila hadn't just rejected me, she'd run to him, and now he was coming for me. I'd pushed too far, and the cost was higher than I'd imagined. I stared at the quilt, its colors blurred through tears. I was losing Lila, my family, maybe even my freedom. But the evidence in my hands was real, and I couldn't stop now. Not when I was this close to saving her, even if it meant losing everything else. Caleb's threat to sue me hung like a storm cloud, dark and heavy. I'm Elise, the sister who'd fought to save Lila from a man whose lies were now a noose around my own neck. My goal was to protect her, to show her the truth about Caleb before he consumed her entirely. But with Lila rejecting my evidence and Mom echoing Caleb's accusations, I was running out of allies. The folder from Tom and Derek's flash drive were my last weapons, but using them now could cost me everything. My family, my freedom, maybe even Lila for good. I sat in my apartment, the quilt from Lila's wedding, draped over my chair, its stitches mocking me with memories of who we used to be. Caleb's legal threat wasn't just a warning, it was a power move, a way to silence me. I could back off, let Lila sink deeper into his world, or I could push forward, risk it all, and pray she'd see the truth. I chose to fight, but I had to be smarter, quieter, until the perfect moment. I spent days digging through Derek's logs, cross-referencing with Tom's files. The puzzle was coming together. Offshore accounts, hidden payments, names of people Caleb had burned. It wasn't just shady, it was a pattern of deceit that could ruin him. But I needed Lila to see it, and she was a fortress now, walled off by his charm and my own mistakes. I decided to try one last time, not with confrontation, but with love. I wrote her a letter, pouring out my heart, memories of us, my fears for her, a plea to meet me one more time. I didn't mention the evidence. I just asked for my sister back. I mailed it to her condo in Richmond, my hand shaking as I dropped it in the box. Days passed with no response, and the silence gnawed at me. Then, a family barbecue at Mom and Dad's forced us together again. I went, heart pounding, hoping the letter had softened her. The backyard smelled of charcoal and summer grass, but the air was thick with tension. Lila was there, Caleb glued to her side, his eyes flicking to me like a predator tracking prey. I caught her alone by the swing set, the one we'd fought over as kids. "Lila?" I said softly. "Did you get my letter?" Her eyes flickered, something raw passing through them before she shut it down. "Yeah, it's just more of your drama, Elise. I'm done. I'm not giving up on you," I said, voice breaking. "I love you. I always will." She looked away, her jaw tight. "You don't get it. I chose him. Stop trying to save me." Caleb appeared before I could respond, his arm around her. "Let's go, babe," he said, his smile sharp. "Your sister's got her own problems." He steered her away, but not before his gaze met mine. A warning, clear as day. He knew I wasn't stopping, and he was ready for war. I left the barbecue, my heart in shreds. I'd lost her again, and Caleb's threat loomed larger. But I clung to the evidence, to the hope that I could still reach her. I spent nights planning, mapping out how to present the truth without pushing her further away. I needed an ally, someone she'd trust, but Mom and Dad were too deep in Caleb's spell, and Jenna and Derek were too scared to get closer. Then, a break. My phone buzzed with a text from an old high school friend, Mia, who'd seen Lila at a charity event. "She looked off," Mia wrote. "Asked about you, Elise. Said she misses you, but Caleb was there, watching her like a hawk." My breath caught. Lila missed me? It was a crack in her armor, a sign she wasn't gone. But Caleb's grip was tighter than ever, and I had to act fast before he closed that crack for good. I sat on my couch, the quilt's colors catching the lamplight. The evidence was ready, the truth waiting. I was one step from the end, but the cost was climbing. Lila was slipping, and Caleb was circling. This was my last chance to save her, and maybe myself. Mia's text, "Lila misses you," was a faint pulse in the darkness, proof my sister wasn't gone. I'm Elise, the one who fought to save Lila from Caleb, even when she pushed me away, even when his threats tightened around me like a noose. My goal was to protect her, to show her the truth about the man she'd married. Now, with Tom's folder and Derek's logs in my hands, I had the evidence to expose him. But Lila's heart was a locked door, and I was running out of time to find the key. I planned my final move carefully. No more confrontations, no more fights. I'd go to her condo in Richmond, just us, and lay out everything, calmly, like the sister she used to trust. I called her, my voice steady despite the fear. "Lila, one last time. Meet me at your place. Please." "I'm not fighting, I promise." She hesitated, then agreed, her voice soft, almost broken. "No, Caleb," I added. She didn't argue. When I arrived, Lila looked like a shadow of herself, pale, eyes hollow. The condo smelled of his cologne, but he wasn't there. I set the folder and flash drive on the table, my hands steady. "Lila, this is everything. Bank records, emails, proof Caleb's been lying, moving money, cheating people. I'm not asking you to hate him. Just look." She stared at the folder, her fingers trembling. "Why can't you stop?" she whispered. "Why do you keep doing this?" "Because you're my sister," I said, tears burning. "I'd rather lose you than watch him destroy you." She opened the folder, her eyes scanning the pages. For the first time, she didn't argue, didn't lash out. She read in silence, and I saw it. A flicker of doubt, the girl I knew breaking through. Then the door opened. Caleb. His smile vanished when he saw the papers. "What's this, Elise? More lies?" Lila looked up, her voice small. "Is it true, Caleb? The accounts? The deals?" He laughed, sharp and cold. "You believe her over me? She's obsessed, Lila. She's tearing us apart." But Lila didn't move, her eyes locked on him. I saw the shift, the moment she started to see him for what he was. I stayed quiet, letting the truth do the work. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. Caleb's been served. Lawsuit from old partners. It's over. Before I could speak, the doorbell rang. Lila opened it, and there stood a woman, brunette, sharp-eyed, holding an envelope. "Lila," she said. "I'm Vanessa, Caleb's ex. He left me when I found out about his scams. I'm here to warn you." She handed Lila documents. More proof, mirroring mine. Lila's face crumpled, the final wall collapsing. Caleb's charm dissolved into panic as he realized he was cornered. "Lila, I can explain," he started, but she cut him off, voice shaking but firm. "Get out. Now?" He left, tail between his legs, and Lila sank to the floor, sobbing. I knelt beside her, the quilt from her wedding in my arms. "I'm here," I whispered, wrapping it around us. She clung to me, the sister I'd fought for, finally back. Months later, I'd moved on. New job, new life, even a kind lawyer boyfriend, Ethan, who made me laugh like I hadn't in years. Lila was rebuilding too, free from Caleb. But one night, she showed up at my door, eyes red, asking for help. I let her in, hoping we could heal. Then, I overheard her flirting with Ethan, her laugh too familiar, too reckless. That was it. I told her to leave. Some betrayals, even from a sister, cut too deep.